Hello, everyone. You are listening to, of course, I'm a Celebrity, South Africa, the podcast with me, comedian Seann Walsh, and...
Me, Scarlett Moffatt. I forgot, for some reason there, I was like, how do I introduce myself? And I didn't know what I could do. Like, because you say comedian, and like, all I'm known for really is like being a couch potato. So I'm like, what do I introduce myself as?
You're a host now. You're talented, Moffatt. You're queen.
Okay.
You're couch potato. You're queen. You're a presenter. You're a host of a humongous podcast. Well, several.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, hiya, I'm Scarlett Moffatt, host of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, South Africa, the podcast. That was a good episode, that, Seann, wasn't it?
Big stuff is happening in the bush.
I know, it
It's
really
tense in there.
is. Like, it is. I feel like that cliffhanger of like coming up next, where Janice and it looked like Janice and Andy were having an argument, and like I was like, oh my word, like is it not happy campers anymore?
Well,
is it going downhill?
This is what happens as it goes on, and you go deeper into the series. I mean, you know, did you have that? Did you find that as it went on, it got harder?
Do you know what? I feel like I was so lucky in my year. Like, I had, like, Carol Vorderman, Larry Lamb, like, people who were very chill.
Yeah.
And almost, like, motherly and fatherly figures that no one argued.
Oh,
so I was so lucky that actually, like, it was very harmonious and we were all, like, really got on. So I don't know how I would cope with even being a standby or watching people have conflict. Because it's like, do you get involved? Do you not? Like, do you know what I mean?
He hates me. He doesn't want to do anything for me.
Are you saying I don't want to do anything for you?
No, I didn't say that.
There's no please, no nothing. It was just do this. It's like, well, no, I'm not your slave.
Well, obviously, we don't know exactly what's happened, but judging by, like, the snippet that we've seen, it sounds like Janice has asked for help of Andy, and Andy said, like, no, I'm not your slave, because you haven't even, like, said please or thank you. And, like, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because I suppose until we see the full picture, we don't know what's going on. But also, like, manners cost nothing, but also, Janice is 68. So it's like, I don't know, I'm curious to see what has happened. Because Andy seems so chill. I can't, you know, and when he was in his series, he never had any problems with anyone.
Do you know what? I'm going to say this. When he first entered, you got the sense of, and maybe this is controversial, and the majority of our listeners wouldn't agree with this, but when he first entered, I got the impression he was going to be very cheery and upbeat. That I get the sense of actually what we've seen so far is actually quite, maybe moody is too strong a word, but it seems to be not that best pleased, you know. In fact, in this episode, you know, when Fatima woke him up to do the fire, like, he was he's not happy about that. And I think
he's not enjoying it as much as the first time he was in, because it is so different. And you're in there with such big personalities, because I know he's a massive fan of the show like me. And actually that comes in handy sometimes, because you can almost sort of guess what's coming next. Like, you know, like I knew when the cyclone was happening, or I knew sort of like roughly when little treats were going to come, just because I was an avid fan. Whereas in the bush, everything is a surprise because no one's done it before.
How do you think you would have handled that, being woken up by Fatima?
Do you know what? I actually think, like, maybe we're going to feel different ways on this, but I actually agreed with Fatima and Carol, because I just think when you're in there, you have a job to do, and you normally choose that job. You all alternate, and you are in there as a team. And I just think, you know, like, no one else should suffer because you haven't kept an eye on the fire and stuff like that. Like, that's your responsibility. And if you've got no fire, it means you've got no clean water. It means, because you can't boil it, it means that, you know, food's going to take longer because then you've got to start it up. It means that there's going to be more creepy crawlies kicking around because the smoke won't get rid of them. So it does have a massive effect on the camp, just the fire going out.
So Andy's role was to look after the fire.
Yeah.
Which he quite soon after said, I don't want to be doing this. Can we change the order of the responsibilities? But does that mean that you have to keep the fire alive whilst you're asleep?
Well, I don't think ours ever went out in our series.
Because I didn't know that that's what... Because it was normally Mike Tyndall. Mike Tyndall is in my series, the rugby legend. And I think he was normally looking after the fire, but I didn't know that he was having to wake up. Do you know, by the way, do you know what I've really learnt from watching this series? I've genuinely opened my... How little I did and how much everyone let me get away with it. I can't believe it. And watching it, I go, God, I'm looking back and I'm like, people are like, oh, Sean's useless. Don't worry, you just stay there, Seann. I was so lucky. People understood me. It was like, they were like my friend. They got me straight away. They were like, this guy is the most incapable human being I have ever met. Let's just let him be. I think things will be better if we don't let him do anything. And it was lovely.
Well, maybe she wouldn't have lasted as long in the bush. I think Fatima would have given you a grilling. I think she would.
I actually think that. I think that I would be struggling in there. Because I think as well that the trials are... They've gone on up... I think they've gone on up a notch in here.
They definitely... Yeah,
and
definitely
I think they're people taking the responsibilities and the duties very, very seriously.
Well, I think as well, like, I can see from Andy's point of view that it isn't very nice getting woken up. You have disturbed sleep when you're in there anyway.
That's the worst.
Like, yeah, it is awful. Not getting sleep is awful. So I can see why he could be upset about that. But we don't know. Maybe he didn't tend to the fire just before he went to sleep. Maybe we don't know, like, the backstory to it. But I just think if we didn't have Carol and Fatima, like, I hope that they don't go for everyone else's sake, because I just worry that the camp would just like go into absolute chaos. Like, because if they weren't reminding everyone to do the jobs, I mean, the long drop would be over-spilling by now.
Oh, dearie me. Oh, yeah. It is. That is to just reiterate, sorry, to all the listeners. Like I think Phil mentioned it a couple of episodes ago, I think, about how heavy the toilet is when they're lifting that. I mean, they're not... That, trust me, they are not putting that on. It's really quite incredible how heavy everyone's dung is.
I just thought, like, when Fatima and Carol actually were, like, you know, having that discussion, and then Helen came and they were having that really sort of deep conversation about Fatima, you know, talking about her Auntie Ray and her childhood. I think actually it made me really, really think about, she isn't just having a go at people to get them to do tasks, but I think that's her way of also showing love, is like her helping people and saying to them, like, you know, we're a team, this is the only way we're going to get through it, is if we work together. And I think that story, like, I properly cried my eyes out listening to it, because I just it made you see her in a different light. And I just thought, when you're in there and you're away from screens and your loved ones, like, your mind goes into overtime and you start thinking about the people that you appreciate. And obviously that's somebody in her life who she genuinely really loves, and it sounds like she hasn't really had a good cry about it for a while, because she's very strong.
In the children's home, when we were kids, we always had assigned jobs and we were always in that routine. You had to be, there's so many of us. The only way you get your pocket money was to make sure your jobs were done throughout the week.
Fatima was telling us bits about her childhood in children's homes, and she is an inspirational woman.
And I had two people in my life, Corrie and Auntie Ray. And Auntie Ray was an East End girl. She only lived down the road to me, Auntie Ray. So I'd look out this little port window and watch when she went home, because I'd be really sad. You know, she'd go off duty. Yeah, really sad. So I'd look out, you know, where she goes. And this one day I decided to pick all the daffodils, and I sort of hid them behind my back and I knocked on the door. And I stood back. And when she opened the door, I said, will you be my mum? I don't know where I was coming from. I asked her if she'd be my mum. And she said, Fats, I've got to be mum to all you kids, so I can't always be here. So when you... Oh, God. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have started that conversation.
Oh, it's so...
So, well, she just... What I'm trying to say is that she taught me a lot about looking after the other kids, because in giving you receive. And I think I've been in here too long, this is why I'm getting upset. But would you understand what I mean? Come here. Yeah, that's what I think. I think you've got to have a star in every child's life. There's been a lot of history that I've forgotten about in my life. And when I spoke about it, it brought it all back to the surface again, and it brought a tear to my eyes. So, yeah, I'll always be forever grateful to my Auntie Ray, who was actually the star in my life.
Suddenly you hear why Fatima's like the way she is. Well then, and now you understand this human being who is really, really gentle. You know, she comes across as quite hard, but that story was, I mean, that was a tearjerker, wasn't it? I mean, it was really such a powerful story, and you could tell that it was real and that she wasn't doing it to be the centre of attention. She wasn't doing it because because she was consciously looking for that hug from Carol. That came out. That was her life story. And, you know, she's a champion. She's a warrior. And the reason that she is those things is because of an unusual, maybe you might be allowed to say difficult upbringing that has built that woman that we're getting to watch in the bush, and it's absolutely amazing. Actually, the two teams that Dean and Joe picked are the exact teams that I would have chosen myself. Those were two very strong teams. Yeah.
Although I did feel for Helen, I did think, but I could see why Helen was picked last, which no one wants to be picked last. It's like that thing at school, isn't it, where you're like, when everyone's like, if you can get into teams or get into pairs, and there's always like two stragglers at the end, and you're like, well, I suppose we've been forced together. And I did feel for Helen, but I suppose Dean and Joe have only, they can only go off the old Helen. 22-year-old Helen that they seen when she was originally on I'm a Celeb. But now she's in the bush. She's an absolute bushmaster. Do you know what I mean? But they haven't seen that side to her yet.
You're absolutely right. I think... but also, she handled that very well. Yeah, she did. She came last. She just cracked on, got on with it, didn't let her get her down. Well done there. Let's just quickly talk about... I think we have to talk about what Ant said... that this is quite possibly the most disgusting piece of television I've ever been involved with. And that was Dean and Joe's. We got to watch the end of their trial. That was also the most disgusting thing I've watched. That were... look, when Dean was going, I've swallowed.
I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it. No, it's the first time ever. Yeah, I've never, normally I love watching the trials, and I just couldn't watch it. I had to watch it on mute and kept sort of looking away because the noises that they were making was knocking us ill. But I just thought, this is even too much for me. As someone who's done an eating trial and done a drinking trial, I was like, this is a lot. This is a lot.
My God, he has not even near it. No.
The smell! The smell!
Oh, whoa, wow.
It was so disgusting that Dean tried to fart to cover up the smell of the drinks. That's when you know it smells bad, when you're going, I need to fart to try and make this more pleasant.
It's TV gold. It was really, and that's why they're both legends. I couldn't think of two funnier people to do that trial. But I just was I was.
Eyeballs.
I couldn't handle it.
When Joe couldn't drink the glass of eyeballs. Oh, you're setting me off now. Oh, God. It's like we're there.
Oh.
No. Oh, dear.
I think I'm quite a positive person, right? But for the first time ever, I actually was upset watching the show with Paul Burrell. I felt like the way that he spoke about Joe Swash, and Joe Swash is my friend,
bizarre.
was actually... Yeah, and it was really unnecessary, and I know, again, I was thinking, can I see it from Paul's point of view? You know, I suppose Joe didn't drink the drink that, you know, made Paul get his jelly babies. But I felt like Paul was being a baby himself. I was like, I understand that Fatima is amazing, and yes, she does make a great leader. But
Yes,
I didn't get the literacy reference of Joe the baker. I didn't really understand that, but I could understand it was a bit of an insult. And I just thought, it was unnecessary.
Fatima is an excellent ally to have in the camp. You couldn't want anyone better. She's so made of steel. An Olympian, forged decades ago, never gives up. I want you to be in the top 3. You deserve to be in the top 3. You're a great leader. You are a gladiator. I want Alexander the Great to fight for us. I don't want Joe the baker to fight for us. But you can step up and save the day. Fatima Whitbread. Joe, you may be pride leaders, but all great leaders had a number 2. I would rather follow a 61-year-old gladiator into the field than a 35-year-old novice. Caesar had Mark Antony. Alexander the Great had Hephaestion. They couldn't have done it without them. Joe can't do it without Fatima Whitbread.
I'm going to say I called this on episode 1 when we spoke.
Yeah, you did.
And I did. I called it and I said, he loves getting stuck in and he likes stirring stuff. I mean, what was that? I'm a celebrity. You know, we've not been in the bush. We've been in the jungle. And yes, it is challenging. But it's also a lot of fun. And you're making friends and you're having a laugh. He sat there having a little whisper, as if they're planning war. Like she's just lying on the bed and he's come over and he starts going, I want Alexander the Great to fight for us. I don't want Joe the baker to fight for us. You can step up and save the day.
I didn't understand that, but also I think, and I'm hoping that Paul actually eats his words a little bit, because I think what he maybe doesn't understand is that Joe Swash is a king. He was a king of the jungle.
Yeah.
He's very strong. He smashes the trials. When I did extra camp with him, he would actually volunteer to try some of the trials out.
Oh,
you know, like he'll always get stuck in. Yeah, and I just think, also, like, all Joe's done was pick 2 people to fight for the team. It's not like he's let anyone down.
It's very strange. We'll see what happens. That might continue. But like, who's up for a challenge? I look into the eyes, look into the blood and the hope of the love and the hate. The hate turns to rock, and we believe there will be no snails without dust about the mighty cheese. You bend down, put your sword upon my. We will vie once again through those rivers, my bloodworth. Hey? Just saying, do you want a bit of brie, mate? Just saying, do you want a bit of brie? Absolute madman.
Yeah, I think it's maybe just getting to him. I think he just really was gutted that they didn't win the picnic. But I thought, again, Helen, I absolutely love Helen. Every episode, I feel like I like her more and more. She was ingenious with her saying, let's play down the picnic. I thought she was going to say, so that they don't feel bad that they didn't win the picnic. Let's not rub it in their faces and be like, wow, it was amazing. But to say so that they don't fight hard, so that they can keep on winning treats. I was like, oh.
I know. You know what's going to happen next episode? We have to look out for that Helen Flanagan. She has the eyes of a zebra. She is a reptile. You cannot trust her fingernails, for she will betray our almighty. And then Jordan was the exact same.
He was so good at lying.
Jordan comes in, he's the exact same in the Telegraph. Yeah, like, we're just telling them it's all right, like, you know what I mean, like? We're just saying to them, like, actually, no, there weren't much going on in there. Like, I was hoping there'd be more, but actually just a little bit, because, you know, you don't want them trying harder in the next one.
I love Jordan. And I thought his acting skills were amazing. I was like, even though I'd seen that what they'd had, and they had like sandwiches and fruit platters and lemonade, even I was starting to believe it. I was thinking, oh, why have they only got cucumber? Oh, they haven't only got cucumber sandwiches. They've been given, even I was like, I've watched it and I'm believing what they're saying.
I know. That was I mean, the food, the thing I would say is, and there'll be a lot of listeners that think this, they really do, because one of the most frequently asked questions that I got when I left the jungle was, do you really get, is that all you really get to eat? Or do you the cameras stop and then you get food? It's like, no, that is literally all you get. Like, there are people watching it that think that we go, like, we eat like a little fingernail of a lizard, and then the cameras turn around and we go, right, where's my McDonald's? Come on, where's my Big Mac? No, that's not what happens.
It really doesn't happen. And actually, I think it looks like people get more food than what they get, because the portion sizes, even when you win stars, like, it's not even, it doesn't really fill you up, but what it does is add taste. But you're never really full. I don't think I ever felt like, apart from when I did the eating trials, I don't think I ever felt full the whole time I was there. Like, you're always a little bit hungry.
Yes, you are. You must not trust your thoughts inside, because you must foresee that you might always be hungry. You are the queen that we look for. Do not be deceived by Joe, the baker, and Jordan, the pastry maker. That's also a baker, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm still... I'm going to have to, like, do some research on this Joe the Baker reference, because I just want to know what it means.
Look out for Helen the Butcher. Helen the Butcher and Joe the Baker. We must be careful.
Jordan the Candlestick Maker.
I'm Jordan, I'm the Candlestick Maker, and I'm just having a good time.
Also, can I just say what I loved in this as well? Again, like we said last episode, that it's so funny seeing people's before entrances when they first enter the jungle and now. Like, Dean Gaffney looks younger.
How much do you think you've changed, and how much did the jungle have an effect on that?
I think, well, I mean, I was a kid, really. Like, I went in 2016. I feel like it would be weird if I didn't grow up since then. Imagine if I was still like...
Yeah, no. Well, I haven't. But do you did the jungle have anything to do with it?
Yeah, I think, like, for me, it was more like, because I've always been, like, the geeky kid that didn't quite fit in anywhere. I think for me, after I won, it was sort of like a big, massive self-acceptance thing. And I was like, oh, actually, I can just be myself. And, like, some people still like that, and you don't have to constantly try and fit into a box. So I felt like, actually, after I came out, like, I was a lot more, like, just weirder, but in a wonderful way. Like, I felt like I could be myself. And, like, if I had a weird thought, like, wow, look at that hill there, that would be good to metal detect on, I felt like, rather than just internalising that thought, I could say it out loud and no one would judge and it would be fine. But, I mean, obviously, you were in there last year. Do you feel like you've changed in a year?
I actually do think that going in there and coming out, that it had a very positive effect. It had a very positive effect, because obviously what I do when we're not doing this and I'm on stage, I have to stand in front of people, and I was kind of having a tough time doing that. My confidence had been quite badly affected by the last few years, so I didn't really like being on stage, but I had to, because that was what I did as my job. That wasn't just the thing that I loved doing. That was also the thing that allowed me to pay my bills. But it was hard to do. And then when I did the jungle and I came out and we came back to England, and I walked down the street and people would go, oh, I loved you in the jungle. In fact, someone said it today. I loved you in the jungle. And that started to instill confidence again, and meant that I liked going back on stage and liked going out to do the shows. So that was important.
Oh, that's so good, Sean. That makes me so happy.
Well, that was a lot. A lot has happened. A lot to come. We're going to find out what happened between Andy and Janice. Yes, that's tense. We'll have to see what happens. I can't wait.
Well, make sure that after every episode of I'm a Celebrity South Africa on ITV1 and STV, that you come and check out the podcast or check us out on YouTube, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And if you want to have a little chat to us on Twitter, please be kind, then you can use the hashtag I'm a Celebrity Podcast and spread the word and tell any I'm a Celeb fans that you need this podcast in your life.
Be kind. Be kind and good from the heart.